So as a historian, let's start at the beginning. I'm just curious by a show of hands how many people actually know, and I'm not going to ask you to tell me, but how many people actually know when the Iranian nuclear program actually began? Raise your hand if you actually know. Not the panelists. All right, so one, John Limbert, basically. Right, so present at the creation, right? Yeah. Right. The Iranian nuclear program actually begins in 1957, 58. And it begins with cooperation, actually very vigorous cooperation from the United States. It is the Eisenhower administration that had its flagship Atoms for Peace program, right? This was an attempt after the sort of horrors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and so on, to prove to the world that nuclear power could be used for positive purposes, this Atoms for Peace program. And the idea was that the United States would cooperate with developing countries to help them develop peaceful nuclear energy for their civilian purposes. And so the United States gave Iran its first, many of you may not know this, the United States gave Iran its first batch of enriched uranium, about 6 kilograms of LEU, of low-enriched uranium in 1958. In the late 1960s, under the Johnson administration, helped Iran to build its Tehran research reactor. This was to create radioisotopes for medical purposes. And this continued throughout the late 1960s and 1970s. And in fact, it wasn't just Democrats, that's important to note. Some of the most vigorous advocates of the Iranian nuclear program in the early 1970s were people like Henry Kissinger, Donald Rumsfeld, and Dick Cheney in the Ford administration, right?